The sun blazed mercilessly over the small town of Monroe, Alabama. It was 1962, and the streets still whispered the ghostly echoes of an America divided by color. At the center of it all was Eleanor Jameson, a black woman whose mere presence in the town's grocery store was enough to draw the cold, judgmental stares of white folks. But she had grown used to it. She had no choice. Across the counter, William Carter stood, a man draped in privilege. His pale skin, blue eyes, and neatly parted blonde hair made him the ideal son of the South. The Carters were respected in Monroe, a lineage of businessmen who had never known hunger, nor the humiliation of being turned away from a restaurant simply because of their race. William had been raised to believe that black people belonged in the shadows, that they should speak only when spoken to, and never dream beyond their station. But then Eleanor spoke. Her voice was soft yet firm. "I'd like a pound of sugar, please." William's gaze flickered to her, his jaw tightening. "We're out," he muttered, though the shelves behind him held bags of sugar stacked high. Eleanor held his gaze, knowing well this game. "I can see it right there." William's hand gripped the counter, his knuckles paling. Something about her defiance unsettled him, sent a ripple through the carefully structured world he had always known. The forbidden conversation. Days turned to weeks, and Eleanor found herself crossing paths with William more often than she liked. He seemed to be everywhere, at the store, on the dusty streets, even at the town's only library, where she was allowed to read old newspapers but never check out a book. Then one evening, fate twisted in a way neither expected. Eleanor was walking home when a car sped past, a beer bottle flying from the window, shattering at her feet. Laughter echoed from inside the vehicle, a cruel reminder that no place was safe for a woman like her. William saw the incident from the steps of his family's store. For the first time in his life, something within him recoiled at the sight. He had been raised to see black suffering as normal, but in that moment he felt something else: disgust, shame, maybe even guilt. Against his better judgment, he called out, "Are you all right?" Eleanor stopped, startled. She searched his face for mockery, but found none. Only a flicker of something she couldn't name. "I'm fine," she replied, brushing glass from her dress. "Nothing new." He hesitated before stepping closer. "They shouldn't have done that." She let out a dry chuckle. "And what are you going to do about it, Mr. Carter? Tell them off? A white man standing up for a black woman? That's a death sentence around here." William swallowed hard. She was right. But for the first time, he hated that she was. The rift and the reckoning. As months passed, William found himself questioning everything he had been taught. He caught himself watching Eleanor, not as a lesser being, but as a person. A woman with intelligence, resilience, and a quiet strength that outshone any man he knew. But Monroe did not allow such thoughts to take root. Rumors began to swirl. A Carter man seen talking to a black woman? It was unnatural, scandalous. His father, Richard Carter, wasted no time in confronting him. "You best remember who you are, boy. And who she is." William clenched his fists. "And who is she, Pa? A person just like us." A sharp slap cracked through the room, leaving William's cheek burning. "You don't get to question your blood," Richard hissed. "You want to ruin this family? You want to be the laughingstock of Monroe?" William stared at the floor, heart pounding. He wanted to say that he didn't care, that none of it mattered. But he had seen what happened to white men who dared to stand on the wrong side of history. They were outcast, disowned, or worse. And Eleanor, if people suspected he cared for her, her life would be in danger. The unforgivable sin. One stormy night, William found himself at Eleanor's doorstep. The rain poured down in thick sheets, drenching his clothes as he knocked, desperate, breathless. When she opened the door, her eyes widened. "What are you doing here?" "I don't know anymore," he admitted. "I just know that I can't keep pretending. I can't keep watching them treat you like this." Eleanor shook her head. "William, you can't be here. Do you have any idea what they'll do if they find out?" "I don't care." "But I do." Her voice broke. "They will kill me. Or worse. You think you can change things, but you can't." He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "Please," he whispered. "I just need to know. Do you feel anything? Anything at all? Tears welled in her eyes, but she turned away. It doesn't matter. For a long moment, they stood in silence, the storm raging around them. And then, without another word, Eleanor shut the door. William stood in the rain, feeling the weight of 1,000 years of hatred crushing down on him. He had never felt more powerless in his life. The price of love. By morning, the town was ablaze with gossip. Someone had seen him at Eleanor's house, and by midday, his father's wrath had reached its peak. "You're no son of mine," Richard Carter spat, tossing William's belongings onto the street. "Get out. And don't come back." William walked away, exile pressing down on his shoulders. But he didn't care. Because as much as he had lost, Eleanor had lost more. He left Monroe that night, knowing he would never return. But in his heart, he carried her name, the feel of her presence, the echo of all they could never be. And Eleanor, watching from her window, whispered a silent prayer. For him, for herself, and for a world that might one day be different.